China Coast Guard once again used water cannons against two Philippine vessels conducting a mission in the Scarborough Shoal on Tuesday morning, April 30. Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, says Philippine Coast Guard's BRP Bagakay and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources vessel BRP Datu Bancao were hit by the China Coast Guard's water cannons. According to Tariela, BRP Bagakay sustained damage in its railing and canopy, while the starboard astern of the BRP Datu Bancao was likewise destroyed. Tariela adds that the damages sustained by the Philippine vessels serve as evidence of the forceful water pressure used by the China Coast Guard in their harassment of the vessels. BRP Bagakay and BRP Datu Bancao embarked on a mission to the shoal on Monday, April 29. Despite the incident, Tariela says the vessels stood their ground and will persist in carrying out their legitimate operations to support Filipino fishermen and ensure their safety. Tariela also says that the China Coast Guard installed a 380-meter floating barrier, again covering the entire entrance of the shoal, effectively restricting access to the area. China seized control of Scarborough Shoal's lagoon in 2012 after a standoff of China Coast Guard with Philippine vessels. Since then, at least two China Coast Guard ships have been permanently deployed inside the lagoon. Last December, the China Coast Guard also used water cannons at least 8 times against BFAR's vessels Datu Sunday, Datu Bancao, and Datu Tablot. This caused significant damage to Datu Tablot. Beijing asserts sovereignty in almost the entire South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea, even if such a claim has been effectively invalidated by a July 2016 International Tribunal ruling that stemmed from a case filed by Manila in 2013. Medical experts confirmed to be engaging in multi-level marketing schemes with pharmaceutical companies may face charges and have their licenses revoked, according to Health Secretary Ted Herbosa. During the hearing of the Senate panel on health and demography, Herbosa was asked by Senator Raffy Tulfo on what would happen to physicians proven to be guilty of conniving with pharmaceutical companies in terms of prescribing medicines to patients.
So, number one, we can file charges kasi pag nakita yung kahit ethical po, pwede kong iakyat yan sa Board of Medicine for revocation of license, suspension of license. Pwede ko rin iakyat kung sa ospital namin, DOH Hospital, pwede kong iakyat sa Ombudsman for cases against these public officials.
Under the 2019 Code of Ethics of the Medical Profession, physicians are strongly tasked not to take advantage of the health product industry, nor should they allow themselves to be exploited in this relationship. It also states that physicians should not solicit favors from biopharmaceutical and medical device companies for personal interest or gain. In the same hearing, Senator Raffy Tulfo presented a list of physicians allegedly working with Bell-Kenz Pharma Inc. in what he alleges to be a multi-level marketing scheme. These physicians supposedly received luxury items and extravagant trips in exchange for prescribing the firm's medicines. The DOH says they are investigating reports that some physicians are committing such practices. Bell-Kenz Pharma Inc. admitted they are giving incentives to some of its doctor partners, but denies the allegations of their involvement in the so-called multi-level marketing schemes. Bell-Kenz Pharma Inc. admits they are giving incentives to some of its doctor partners, but denies the allegations of their involvement in the so-called multi-level marketing schemes. During the hearing of the Senate panel on health and demography, the firm's chairperson and chief executive officer Luis Raymond Go discloses this himself.
We are giving incentives and, shall I say, support to our doctors who, for them to include us as a brand for their generic prescriptions.
All right. What kind of incentives?
We
Doctor?
give them continuing medical educations locally and abroad, and sometimes we also provide them with clinic equipment.
Senator Jinggoy Estrada previously disclosed that physicians conniving with Bell-Kenz are earning around 2 million pesos based on their productivity. Go also admits to paying for the trips of their partner doctors. However, he denies that they give cash and luxury cars to them. Go maintains that their firm is law-abiding.
I stand before this august assembly to vehemently refuse these baseless allegations and to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to integrity and compliance. Let me unequivocally assert the following truth about Bell-Kenz Pharma. We are a law-abiding pharmaceutical entity, diligently adhering to all regulations set forth by the FDA, the SEC, the PMA, and other relevant governing bodies.
Go adds that the firm ensures transparency in their pharmaceutical marketing method.
We operate in a pharmaceutical marketing method that to ensure that we do it in transparency, ethical integrity, with our practices upholding the highest standards of corporate conduct.
The House of Representatives is being asked to investigate the frequent yellow and red alerts raised by the country's electrical grid amid fears that the energy crisis might be exploited by companies seeking to increase power rates. Makabayan Bloc lawmakers is calling for a probe into the cause of the constant alerts raised by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines and whether or not these were legitimate alerts. In the resolution, the lawmakers say that the Philippines has been experiencing almost daily red and yellow power alerts due to the forced shutdown of almost 50 power plants, causing instability in the power supply and leading to increased power rates. The lawmakers urge accountability from the Department of Energy, Energy Regulatory Commission, and generation companies for the energy crisis and its negative impact on consumers. According to the lawmakers, the House needs to conduct an investigation because companies involved in the power supply chain should not be allowed to pass on higher costs to consumers. The lawmakers also add that there is a pressing need to shift the burden of higher power rates onto generation companies during outages to safeguard consumer rights and to promote fair practices in the energy sector. Over the past few weeks, yellow and red alerts have been continuously raised by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines due to the thinning electric supply, which is attributed to higher consumption during the country's dry and hot season. The Department of Education is pushing for an earlier end to the school year 2024 to 2025, citing the intense heat that affects learners. In a Senate panel briefing, DepEd spokesperson and Assistant Secretary Francis Bringas says DepEd has submitted a letter to the Office of the President for their proposal.
Nonetheless, in response to the recent clamor for a more immediate reversion to the April-May school break, the department has already submitted a letter to the Office of the President presenting other options, including a more aggressive alternative of ending school year 2024-2025 in March 2025.
In the DepEd's department order released in February, the proposed period of the school year 2024 to 2025 will run from July 29 to March 24. This shift was done in a bid to revert the school calendar to the previous June to March setting. According to Bringas, there will be no makeup classes for the remaining weeks of the school year 2023 to 2024, as days when alternative delivery modes were implemented are to be counted as the same regular school days. DepEd previously said that they will hold a non-mandatory national learning camp to supplement the lessons that students received during the days when alternative delivery modes was implemented.